But yeah, the book is actually going to launch nationwide May 19th, a little less than a month, from now. And that's the anticipation. That's the lack of sleep I'm having now. So,
Right.
but the early I guess early reviews have been great. So I mean, the people that have read the galleys and the advanced copies have been completely thrown off guard and
Right.
blown away. So yeah, it is definitely a unique story.
So you,
Not what everybody expected, you know what I mean? Because of who I am and where my place is in history, everybody accepts like, everybody kind of like expects this history book, you know what I mean? This hip hop history book, and it does have that in some way, but it's really something more, you know what I mean? It's incorporating a little bit for everybody. I've been wanting to write a book for years, man. I've been involved in at least half a dozen books, you know what I mean?
this
And
is true, right?
yeah, I've been involved in for at least 12 years or so. I've been involved in at least half a dozen books. I've been a contributor, and I've done that, and I saw that facet of it a, a while ago. So I was already thinking about, hey, I can do this, on my own, and I want to write same kind of style book, you know what I mean, about hip hop and what its influence has been, generational, you know what I mean, and it just overall impact, and I met this cat like 2.5 years ago. He shot me his book. He's a younger guy than I. He's from my old neighborhood in the Bronx. He wrote his memoir, Growing Up Wild Style in the Bronx. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is like a dude like 13 years younger than me. He went through like all these crazy obstacles, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, man, I remember reading P.D. Thomas 30 years ago, you know what I mean? And so forth, and Claude Brown, and all that. And I'm like, this never ends. You know what I mean? It's like this recurrent, vicious cycle, man. So I mean, those types of books, the Donald Goins and all that, those are the type of books that have always appealed to me. You know what I mean? Because they kind of like struck that chord. You know what I mean? Something that I could relate to profoundly. So I was like, wow. So me and him start to vibe, and he was like, yo, I saw your archives in the museum in Seattle like 8 years ago, and that made him proud to see a dude, Latino from the Bronx, repping, you know what I mean, all the way on the West Coast and all that. And he's like, yo, man, I like to write your life story, work with you on that. And I'm like, okay, but he didn't know what my life story was. You know what I mean? No one knew what my life story was. Only I knew, and I didn't want to get into all that, you know what I mean? I wasn't at that place then, that I thought that I could be open and free about that. But one thing led to another, man, and we started to like cipher and sit down and do a series of interviews, and man, those floodgates opened up. You know what I mean? Started opening one door and led to another door, and he started to learn about me like at a fast pace, man. And I left home with a lot of nightmares, man. So I kind of went through this whole therapeutic process. I've never had therapy a day in my life. I'm almost 50 years old, and I really had to go through a long, windy road, you know what I'm saying, to be where I am right now. And I never shared those experiences with anybody. You know what I mean? I'm like from that old school kind of mentality where, you know what I mean, a man got to do what a man got to do, you know what I'm saying? And just keep it moving and don't bitch and moan about it and just maintain, you know what I mean, and all that. But that kind of mentality, you know what I'm saying, it's tough, man, because that wreaks havoc, you know what I mean, on yourself, your family, you know what I mean, communities, and the shit is like endless, So opening up to Homeboy and doing the book and the whole process, I kind of like put to rest a lot of stuff, man, that I should have put to rest a long time ago, you know what I mean? And I was honest with myself, and I think I'm definitely a better person for it. And anybody reading the book is probably going to relate some way or to it. You know what I mean? And maybe they can find some kind of alternative to maybe their situation, because it is at the end of the day a survivor's tale. You know what I mean? There was really no competition, man. To be honest with you, it was early '70s. You know what I mean? And we were just coming out of this whole gang era. You know what I mean? That was dominating the Bronx, and I was into my thing with my boys, you know what I mean? I grew up, you know what I mean, with this whole crew of dudes, and you know what I mean? We did what we had to do, you know what I'm saying, to maintain ourselves and just, you know what I mean, just survive. I mean, that's the tough part about the book that you're gonna see right off the bat that we were kind of like victims of our circumstances, victims of our surroundings, but we kind of fought for that edge to be creative, you know what I mean? So I should have had everything that a kid has now, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That family structure, you know what I mean? Not to worry about things that I had to worry about as a young shorty, you know what I mean? I should have been able to flourish and be creative because I was born that way. I was born to be creative and build. Instead, I had to destroy in order to survive, which was kind of like, you know what I mean? Kind of like, you know, the real bad, you know, part of that. But this thing just flourished before our eyes, man. You know what I mean? It was something that we never saw coming, you know what I mean? It was something that just engulfed me, you know what I mean? And I became part of that movement that, you know what I mean, that just became the outcry of the community because of the circumstances, the aesthetics that we were thrown into. You know what I mean? We had no choice in this. So, you know what I mean, hip hop, you know, became my platform. I did what I did, and, you know, my partner and I, you know what I'm saying, we DJ'd and we just fed the community music, you know what I mean, and just, you know, some kind of glimmer of hope, you know what I mean? We didn't know as teenagers that we were kind of like, you know what I mean, causing this worldwide, you know what I'm saying, monster of a movement, you know what I mean? There was no room for like that looking outside the box thing and seeing the bigger picture. We were just happy that we were just avoiding a jail cell or a cemetery at such a young age. We were, you know, being creative, just channeling out all that into a budding, you know what I'm saying, movement. So competition, it was always competition, you know what I mean? The backbone of hip hop is battling, whether it be on the floor, whether it be behind the turntables. Later on I came with you know, with the form of a microphone, you know what I mean? It's always the graph artist battle, you know what I'm saying? They kind of toyed each other out. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's just part of the history of all that, you know what I mean? You know, you gotta kind of like make the next man step up his game. You know what I'm saying? Like before the blackout, you had like maybe a real handful of legitimate DJs that kind of dominated those early years in the Bronx, you know what I mean? And we kind of had that whole thing on lock. Once the blackout happened, man, all those toy DJs that we used to smash up, they started getting sound systems, man, and they used to come out, man, and that's how this thing like really got that momentum. It grew legs, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of like was able to kind of like sprout out and go, you know what I mean? Farther than just that little area in the Bronx. That we had something that was like kind of like unique, and it was kind of foreign, because when we used to walk around with like dollies and pulling speakers and stuff like that, the other guys, you know, the guys that were older than us looked at us strange. Like, yo, what the fuck are these kids doing? You know what I'm saying? Yo, what y'all doing? Y'all a band or something? Nah, man, we not no band, you know what I'm saying? And we, you know, put our milk crates up and our tables and set up our turntables and jack the lampposts and all that. All that stuff was like cutting edge creativity, my man. And we were like early entrepreneurs, and we, you know what I'm saying, we wrote our own flyers, printed them out on the retrograph machine, handed them out ourselves, did all that early promotional work that like just was not like, you know what I mean, not norm, you know what I mean? It just wasn't just, I mean, this is before media, press, anybody outside the Bronx Expressway got any kind of like, you know what I mean, wind of what was happening. So, you know, it was just something that uniquely to that timeline, you know what I mean? And here we are 35 years later, and this thing is a global monster, man. But, you know, that's the real beginnings of that. You know, we didn't see that. We didn't see that. I mean, it means a survival, man. You know what I'm saying? You either got this or you got that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, before hip hop, I was on a fast track to either a cemetery or a jail cell for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the reality, the brutal reality of that. You know what I mean? Hip hop kind of like showed me an alternative to that. You know what I mean? Kind of like, you know? And I kind of like started to shy away from that, from those groups of people that I grew up with that kind of mindset. So it showed right off the bat that its impact was inspirational. And it continues to be inspirational because there's nothing that's uniquely to me. That storyline is still generational. Right now, you have a shorty right now that's going through the same problems that I went through as, you know what I mean, as a young man. You know?